Hello and welcome to NASO. In this video, we'll continue reviewing the book, Everything You Need to Ace Pre-Algebra and Algebra 1 in one big fat notebook. In the last video, we did Chapter 3, Order of Operations. In this video, we're finally moving on to Unit 2, where we're going to learn about the number system. In Unit 2, we'll be in Chapter 4, and we'll be covering adding positive and negative whole numbers. So let's start. Positive numbers describe quantities greater than 0. Positive numbers are shown with and without the positive sign. For example, plus 2 and 2. Negative numbers describe quantities less than 0. All negative numbers have a negative sign in front of them. For example, negative 6. There are various ways to add positive and negative numbers. Method number 1, we can use a number line. So in the middle, we'll put a 0, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, and negative 5. So we can see that from the 0 forward, it's positive numbers, and everything on the left side of the 0 is negative numbers. So why don't we try an example, and we'll use our number line that we just created. Find the sum 5 plus negative 3. So begin at 0. Since 5 is a positive number, move 5 units to the right. So we'll come back up to our number line here. We start at 0 and we move 5 units to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Begin where you left off with the first number. Since negative 3 is a negative number, start at 5 and move 3 units to the left. So now, we'll start at 5 and move 3 units to the left. 1, 2, 3. And that puts us at 2. So the sum of 5 and negative 3 is 2. Let's try another example. Find the sum negative 1 plus negative 4. Begin at 0. Since negative 1 is a negative number, move 1 unit to the left. So we start at 0 here and we move 1 unit to the left, which puts us at negative 1. Because negative 4 is a negative number, move 4 units to the left starting at negative 0. So now we'll move 4 units to the left starting at negative 0. 1, 2, 3, 4. We end up at negative 5. The sum of negative 1 and negative 4 is negative 5. Let's go for another example. Find the sum 5 plus negative 7. So move 5 units to the right, then move 7 units to the left. So we'll start at 0, move 5 units to the right, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then from there we'll move, we end up at 5. And from there we're going to move 7 units to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We end up at -2. So the sum of 5 and -7 is -2. So keep in mind the sum of a number and its opposite always equals 0. For example, 8 plus -8 equals 0. So another way to add positive and negative numbers is through the absolute value. The absolute value of a number represents the distance of that number from 0 on the number line. It's always positive because distance is always positive. So keep in mind, if the signs of the addends are the same, it means that they move in the same direction on the number line. This means that you can add those two numbers together and keep the sign that they share. So let's do an example. Find the sum -1 plus -4. Both -1 and -4 are negative, so they are alike. We can add them together and keep their sign to get -5. So please remember, if the signs of the addends are different, it means that they move in opposite directions on the number line. This means you can subtract the absolute value of each of the two numbers. The answer will have the same sign as the number with the greater absolute value. For example, find the sum -11 plus 5. -11 and 5 have different signs. So subtract the absolute value of -11 and the absolute value of 5. So I'm putting -11 in absolute value minus absolute value of 5 equals, we know that the absolute value of -11 is 11. We bring our negative sign over, and the absolute value of 5 is 5, and that equals 6. So -11 has the greater absolute value, so the answer is also -6. So remember, going back to what I typed earlier, the answer will have the same sign as the number with the greater absolute value. So because -11 was the greater absolute value number, we're going to keep the original sign, which was a negative. So let's do another example, a little bit of a longer, more thought on this one. An archaeologist is studying ancient ruins. She brings a ladder to study some artifacts found above ground level and some found below ground level. The archaeologist first climbs the ladder to 5 feet above ground level to study artifacts found in a wall. She then climbs the ladder another 2 feet higher. Finally, the archaeologist climbs down the ladder 11 feet. Where does the archaeologist end up? All right, so try and do this on your own, and we can then work it out together. I will give you a hint. You might want to first assign integers to the archaeologist's movements. Okay, hopefully you gave it a try. So the archaeologist climbs 5 feet above ground level, so we'll do a +5 there. Climbs another 2 feet above, that's a +2, and then climbs down 11 feet, which would be -11. You can write an equation to show the archaeologist's movements. 5 plus 2 plus the absolute value of negative 11. And we know that 5 plus 2 equals 7 plus the absolute value of negative 11, which we will then end up with negative 4. So the archaeologist ends up 4 feet below ground level. All right, let me see if I can add an AI image. I've been working a lot with AI. It's the biggest craze right now online. And this is the automated AI image when I typed in a couple keywords, which was archaeologists, 4 feet below the ground, and artifacts. Pretty good, very impressive. All right, so what I'll do now is I'll put some problems on the blackboard and I will leave it up to you to check your knowledge. And we'll obviously go over the answers together, but I will post the questions up for you. And for problems 1 through 7, I want you to find the sum of each expression. Negative 8. Now you might be asking why sometimes you use parentheses around the negative number, and sometimes you do not use parentheses. Well, you can do both, okay? I want to present to you different examples that you'll probably see on the test. Okay, so for number 1, that will be 5. Number 2 will be negative 4. Number 3, negative 6 plus negative 8 will be negative 14. Number 4 will be 2. Number 5 equals negative 19. Number 6 equals negative 13. All right, how about a couple word problems? A hiker is currently in a valley that is at an elevation of 50 feet below sea level. She hikes up a hill and increases her elevation 300 feet. What is the new elevation of the hiker? All right, so ground level, here's our ground level. We are at ground level, we're at 0 feet, okay? So this is our sea level. Right? Anything below this line is below sea level. Anything above this line is above sea level. Okay? I definitely always want to encourage you to make drawings to help illustrate the question. All right, so the hiker is at an elevation of 50 feet below. Let's use a different color. Maybe we can use brown. So we're simulating a hill or a mountain or some kind of surface. So the hiker is right here. And they are at 50 feet below sea level. Then the question tells us that she hikes up a hill and increases her elevation by an amount of 300 feet. So she increases. So this distance here. So this distance here, she increased by way of 300 feet. And now she's up here. Please pardon my drawing. So the question wants to know, what is her new elevation? So I think the best way to go around this to find this answer is set up your equation. We know that she was 500 feet below, so a negative value. So she was 500 feet below, which could be interpreted as a negative value. And we can put that as negative 50. And she increased. Okay? And adding that represents increase is addition, or an operation that represents increase is addition. She went up or increased 300 feet. And negative 50 plus 300 equals 250 feet. So the question asked, what is the new elevation of the hiker? The new elevation of the hiker is 250 feet. Another word problem. A submarine pilot is currently at a depth of 75 feet below sea level. He then pilots his submarine 300 feet lower. What is the new depth? So again, I always encourage that you illustrate the information given to you. So let's draw a wavy line indicating sea level. Which is 0 feet. And it says that the submarine is at a depth of 75 feet. So I'm going to approximate that 75 feet is somewhere here. It's my submarine. And just draw my propellers. And here, submarine is at 75 feet below sea level. So here's my negative 75 feet. He then pilots his submarine 350 feet lower. So lower can be substituted with the operation negative or subtract. So submarine continues to lower itself another 350 feet. Yeah. Submarine continues to lower itself 350 feet. So this is the new location of the submarine. I'm going to take the submarine I drew earlier. I'm just going to simply copy and paste it. There we go. It went down an additional 350 feet. So what is the new depth of the pilot? So why don't we do an equation? Negative 75 plus negative 350. And that would equal negative 425. Or 425 feet below sea level. Below sea level. The reason I changed it to 425 is because distance cannot be negative. So another way that we could have solved this is, instead of writing it as negative 75, we could have kept it positive. And this 350 as well, we could have kept that positive. And take away the negative, we would have had 75 plus 350 equals 425. Remember, distance cannot be negative. It's always a positive. But, as we describe later, 425 feet below sea level lets us know that they're located approximately right there. And the last word problem. This one, I want you to state whether the statement is true or false. True or false. And I'll type it out for you. Chris is asked to find the sum of negative 8 plus 5. Chris says, since the numbers have opposite signs, we subtract the absolute value of the numbers. Absolute value of negative 8 minus absolute value of 5 equals 8 minus 5, which equals 3. Therefore, the answer is 3. I want you to think about that for a moment. So Chris, as far as subtracting the absolute values, 8 minus 5 equals 3, that is correct. However, he forgot one important thing. You always keep the sign of the largest absolute value number, which in this case was negative 8. So he would have been correct if he would have put a negative in front of the 3. Okay, but because he just said it's 3, that would be false. This statement is false. To make this statement true, he would have said negative 3. Okay, and that's it for chapter 4. Please remember to like and subscribe, share with a friend, and comment below what problem helped you the most. Thank you for watching.